April they said I can spar again. Maybe if your man's wise, he might give it another month or two. July seems okay for me. I want to compete, I know that. I don't got to prove that. I am that, man. I'm the double champ. So it's just about getting back in, competing, putting on a show for the fans, you know what I mean? That's it.
And it's crazy enough to happen. Conor McGregor talking to Severe MMA, showing that he might return sooner than people thought, and that's going to shake up the division. For any other number 9 fighter, it probably wouldn't, but Conor moves things, man, and we know that the champ wants to fight him. It's actually very big news that the doctors told him he can spar by April. If he can spar in April, he can fight soon after. He just has to feel himself, right? It's not necessarily the injury that's going to cause him to stay out longer until like July or August. It's actually going to be the feel for the sport. It's going to be the feel of fighting. That's going to keep him out a little bit longer because he hasn't fought for a long time and hasn't been able to move the same like he did before. So it's going to take a little bit more time. The injury itself seems like it healed correctly, because as Conor said in that interview, there is 11% chance that the bones do not connect with each other, and perhaps that's what's happening to Weidman at the moment. But Conor's recovery has been shockingly quick, faster than even Anderson's, and Anderson's was like an anomaly. Back in the day when Anderson broke his leg, people thought he was done, he was never going to come back, but he fought 14 months later. I believe the doctor said that Anderson's recovery is something like they've never seen before. If Conor comes back in July, it would be exactly 1 year since that Dustin Poirier fight. He would have recovered faster than Anderson Silva, and it's probably in his mind. You know how Conor works, right? He wants to make the unthinkable happen, and that would be absolutely crazy. 1 year since that leg break. Now, it's not the same as Anderson's. I think Anderson's was a little bit worse. The area where he broke his leg was more catastrophic than where Conor broke his, but it doesn't even matter, man. You broke your leg. Getting 100% recovered in 10 months from that is insane to think about. Anderson's recovery was something that the doctors thought was insane, and Conor's recovering even faster than that. All credit to the guy, man. He took the best steps, kept a positive mindset, which is very important, and now is looking to fight Charles Oliveira. He said that Oliveira should sit out another month or two and not fight Justin Gaethje so he can go up against Conor. And we know before, Charles Oliveira did want to fight Conor McGregor before. Conor called him out in December, and then Oliveira accepted. This is actually around the time he fought Dustin Poirier as well, and in the middle of Conor's recovery. So he knew he would have to wait for Conor until he came back. So he was willing to wait for Conor. I believe nothing changed, and why really would it? Oliveira deserves that. He's not only fighting for himself. People have to remember this. This is a selfish sport. A lot of fighters fight for money, specifically for themselves. Oliveira is fighting for a lot more people, man. He needs to make that kind of money in order to help the favelas back in his home, help people in need and stuff like that. That's why even, Dustin Poirier was taking up the fight with Conor, and Oliveira deserves it. What he's done in his career, the ups and downs, eventually becoming champion, and he's still helping those same people. It's a no-brainer why he would take a fight with Conor, because some people seem to be a little bit confused, maybe criticize Oliveira's decision. I understand it. Conor doesn't deserve a title shot through meritocracy or in terms of rankings, but if the champ wants it and Conor wants it, it'd be a big fight that the UFC would put on. They can market this fight so good. It's mostly going to revolve what happened to Jose Aldo, right? Oliveira is going to be the Brazilian champ. He's representing that whole country, and it's going to be built around the revenge of Jose Aldo, the king of Brazil. And I think Dana has said it before that he wants to go to Brazil soon. That would be a massive return to Brazil. I'm not saying I'm all up for this because I'm a purist. For me, I want to see Gaethje fight Oliveira. Then I want to see Islam Makhachev if he beats Bobby Green, or if Dariush comes back, then we could put back that fight with Islam and Dariush, whatever it is. I like an order to the rankings. I don't like when people just jump in front because they have a big name. But there are certain fighters that work in the matrix. But Oliveira is fighting Gaethje first. Their fight is supposed to be on May 7. This was actually confirmed by Dana White himself. I don't know if that necessarily means it's official, the contracts are signed and all that. It could just mean that it's set. And Dana is just looking at that fight, but you have to also remember, Dana did not know when Conor could return. If Conor comes to the table on April, things could change, man. I don't think Dana would give him a title shot after coming off 2 losses in a row to the same guy that Oliveira just beat in his last fight. I think Conor should fight someone else. Specifically, I would love to see him fight Tony Ferguson. That would be an excellent fight, especially for his return. It'd be a big money fight. Tony Ferguson's been at this game for a long time. He also deserves this kind of payday. He's a legend in the sport, and the build-up would be pretty fun. It's hard to know how the fight would go down because we gotta see how Conor returns, if he's the same guy, and we gotta see if Tony can get back on the right track. But the way that Conor can get the title shot is if Charles Oliveira also wants it. If Oliveira agrees to fight Conor, and Conor wants to fight Oliveira, it'd be a big fight for the UFC to do. I think it all lies on what Charles Oliveira wants. I wonder if the same thing's gonna happen again, and that could screw over a lot of fighters. Islam Makhachev, for an example, Conor probably wouldn't care to do that to Islam Makhachev, but with Islam beating Bobby Green, by default he should get a title shot, right? He didn't beat a top 5 opponent, so it is kind of weird. He would be similar to Leon Edwards getting a title shot, but nobody else really deserves it. Conor inserting himself and Oliveira wanting to fight him, probably more than he wants to fight Makhachev, might be able to jump Conor in front of the line, and the excuse is going to be Islam didn't beat anybody yet. Dariush was the guy, it didn't happen, he beat Bobby Green, and that isn't enough. I'm gonna fight Conor instead, I'm gonna get this money, I'm gonna help the favelas, there's a lot riding on the line just to fight Conor. I have respect for Conor, I have respect for Islam, but there's a different opportunity here. And that might have to set up another fight with Islam Makhachev and Beneil Dariush, because those are the two guys at the top of the division who are somewhat close to a title shot, right? They both have a very similar claim to it. Islam's 10-win streak to Dariush's 7, but Dariush got there beating the number 9 and number 5 guy. Islam beat number 15 and number 6, and Dariush also beat Thiago Moises on top of that. So the claim to a title shot is very comparable between the two. I don't like Conor's chances coming back against Oliveira. I want to see him fight Tony instead or something like that. I don't want to see the chance that, Conor comes back and not the same anymore and he fights an assassin like Oliveira, who's at the top of his game right now. I know Conor was saying, his ground game is much better. People don't give him credit for all dimensions of his fighting skills, but this would be biting off more than he can chew. Oliveira is way too much right now. Striking wise, Conor could do a lot of things there. His takedown defense is actually pretty good. On paper, you can actually see past the victory for Conor for sure, but coming off that big injury, I don't put it past Conor to be able to actually make a successful return. If anybody can do it, it's guys like Anderson and guys like Conor, but I think it's a bit too much. I want to see him test himself first while also having a big money fight against Tony, and then going on to fight whoever the top of the division offers. In my opinion, it should be Justin Gaethje first, of course, then Islam Makhachev if he goes and beats Bobby Green and Dariush is still out with his injury. After that, it could be Dariush, but if Conor is smart, if he can't get that immediate title shot, he should target Beneil Dariush. If he wins that one, then target the title shot. With Conor's return, things are going to get very interesting. What do you guys think about this? Do you guys think that Conor should get a title shot? I'm pretty sure nobody thinks that. I mean, there are a few people who would think that. And if not, who do you guys think he should fight first? There's a lot of opponents out there, from money fights to just fighting some ranked guy to build himself up. There's a lot of options for Conor for sure, from lightweight to even welterweight. And if I'm going to be honest, that lightweight division is starting to lose contenders. A lot of those guys at the top have already fought for a belt, or they're fighting for a belt. Young prospects have to creep up, or they're going to go to guys like Conor because everybody else already fought for a belt. The prospects need to be built up more. That next wave of young fighters needs to happen at the moment in order to create a new fresh lineup of contenders. Because if you really look at it, Dustin Poirier already fought for the belt, Justin Gaethje fought for the belt and is fighting for the belt at the moment. Michael Chandler fought for the belt, RDA fought for the belt, Tony Ferguson. The only two guys in the top 7 are Beneil Dariush and Islam Makhachev. The state of the weight class is very strange, and there needs to be a movement, or we're going to see something similar in this weight class that happened to light heavyweight.